And we're still following breaking news tonight at 6. A woman is hurt after an officer-involved shooting in Virginia Beach.
Police tell us it all started with a call about a stabbing at the Navy Federal Credit Union on Providence Road near Kempsville. The shooting happened not far away near Kempsville and Princess Anne Roads. 13
News Now has team coverage of the story tonight. We start with reporter Chanu Her at the scene of the shooting.
Police say this all started at a credit union on Providence Road, but this on Baxter Road is where the suspect was found. Police say when they stopped her in the vehicle and gave her commands, she didn't obey, and that's when a taser was used. When that was ineffective, police say she lunged forward holding a weapon, and that's when an officer discharged a weapon.
I just saw cop cars rushing to this one car, the black car, and then I heard, put down the knife, put down the knife.
Police say the suspect suffered minor injuries, and right now they're still not sure if the injuries were from the officer discharging the weapon or from something else. But they did tell us they will be out here for the rest of the night investigating. In Virginia Beach, Chanu Her, 13 News Now.
And 13 News Now reporter Adriana de Alba is live at the Navy Federal Credit Union. That's where the stabbing happened. Adriana.
And right now, there are no police present at the scene, and all evening long, customers have been showing up here to the credit union, but they're being turned away by this sign. It says unscheduled closing due to unforeseen circumstances. Now, here's what we know. That suspect came inside of the credit union, stabbed a teller, and then left. We don't know at what point or why she did it, but we'll continue working